Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. We are in for another treat today, one that I think you're going to really enjoy, and it's coming way from down under. So our guests today, Kate Galli, that's a lot of words. Kate Galli is from Australia, and she's here with us today. She is a trainer. She is an author. She is a vegan health coach. She's also a cat mom, although she said more like cat companion to Loki. She is a native Aussie, and she's a big city girl turned small town girl, and she is our guest today. Kate, welcome to Productive Joy.
Christie, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes, and I'm excited too. I cannot wait to dig into all of the things and find out a little bit more about you, but people will only listen long enough to get interested. So in 30 seconds or less, what would you tell people that will make them want to keep listening?
Oh, okay. So I was a debilitatingly shy teenager that became obsessed with the gym as a way to transform my body and confidence. And that's going to be a reoccurring theme in our conversation, that confidence, that back yourself. I became a personal trainer to help other people have that same, I guess, freedom. And yeah, that is a huge part of what I do now and absolutely love it.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so was it modeled for you to take good care of yourself, or was it in spite of the modeling that you had that you decided to take care of yourself?
Nice question. When I first joined a gym, it didn't stick because I didn't have a goal. I joined a gym because my father said I should.
Mm.
And I think that was probably because I was living out of home. I was 18. I was partying late, sleeping in late. And he thought this might be a better use of my time, right? As I advise my clients now, it's all about your goal and the compelling why behind your goal. So when the gym actually did stick, it was because on one of those late nights out, I met a dude with a fairly smoking hot body, and I thought, wow, this is what a lot of effort in the gym can do. So it was all about vanity. And,
Ah,
sometimes vanity's enough, right?
yeah.
And the goal and the purpose evolved, thankfully, over the years, but that was why I got into it initially.
Oh my gosh, I kind of love that, right? So you had some external motivation that took you to the gym. Did you end up going to the gym that he went to, or
No,
where?
that didn't last at all. Hey, no, not at all.
It was just an inspirational moment where you were like, huh, this might be kind of
100%.
fun. Well, you do look great.
Yes.
And if you are not already following Strong Body Green Plant, I suggest you do, because that's not only your Instagram handle, but it's also your stuff, right? Like, so tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that and how that happened.
So Strong Body Green Planet, very close. And I
I
guess
left out a
also
letter.
it's almost better what you said, but my podcast is healthification, right? And that really sums up my approach. I see health not just as our individual health and how we look and feel and the confidence we have moving around in the world. I also see health as relating to the planet
Mm.
and to all those we share it with. You mentioned I'm a vegan health coach. That is a huge part of my vision. And, after first joining the gym and it sticking at around 18, 19, it would be a further decade before I actually made the switch for that to become my career.
Hmm.
I was 29, 28, 29. And funny to say, I thought, oh, I'm going to be too old in half a second to become a personal trainer. So let's do it now before I hit 30. And so that was me when I made that big career jump. And prior to that, I'd actually been working in fundraising for not-for-profits.
Okay.
Some of the organizations that I most respect now with, the vegan side of my business. It's kind of full circle, right? I went from not-for-profits to personal trainer to almost now combining the two, which is really nice.
That's awesome. And how great that you were able to turn this hobby, if you will, into your passion, into your career. I think a lot of people are a little afraid of that, right? Like afraid of doing something that they love and trying to make money doing it versus, well, I have to work to live and then I get to do this fun thing on the side. What gave you the courage to combine the two? What gave you okay, I mean, besides the fact that you were getting old, and I am putting that in air quotes very clearly by the time you were 30, but what gave you the guts to try it?
I think it's a self-awareness that I didn't have back then. Back then, it was literally the fact that the one thing that I never got sick of talking about, whether it was friends or new people that I met, they would ask me about health and fitness and what I did. And I was always super passionate about talking about it, about learning about it. It never got old. Eventually the nutrition and exercise component did get a little bit old, and the mindset component of
Mm.
making those healthy habits stick is what I'm like limitlessly fascinated by now. But in hindsight, I think it's a self-awareness. I think there are people in the world that we literally have no choice. We must do what we're passionate about, and there literally is no other choice for us. The same way that I must work for myself, I need to be steering the ship. I want 100% responsibility or control, which is, a less positive way to put it. And there are some people, and there's no better or worse, but there are some people, it's not really about that. It's about everything else. It's about, and you can have all of it, but it's about the two children and the white picket fence, and that is the most important thing to them. And a career is a box that they tick and it pays the bills, and that's that. And I often think they have a more happy, satisfied life because they're not constantly striving and pushing for some goal they might not reach. Maybe they get to tick the box and be happy, and that's amazing. And I'm a little bit like, wow, go you. But for me, in hindsight, it's the clarity that I just had to be super passionate about something if I was going to put in all the effort that I do put in.
Well, and it's clear that you do put in the effort and you're reaping the benefits of being focused and being, hyper well focused, same word, on doing what feels right to you, what can help others. And what I love about your passion is that you are helping others, right? Not only were you passionate about it for yourself, but you recognize that other people would benefit from what you were learning, from what you teach, from what you share with others, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to ask you now, because it is my favorite question, but it also feels right at this moment. If you had to describe productive joy, how would you describe it?
I love those two words together, and I'll just frame it with the fact that I was all about the productive in the first 2 decades of my career, and I'm really making more time for joy now. So maybe that's part of why your podcast sung to me. Productive joy is about being effective as you're living a life aligned with your values and having an impact aligned with your values, while also, and this is my learning in just the past couple of years, enjoying the journey.
Mm.
I was missing that for a lot of time. I'm focused to my detriment, and it works really well in health and fitness. You can be super focused with nutrition and exercise and only get the benefits. However, with other aspects of life and even business, that crazy, insane focus, sometimes you just need to calm down a little bit and enjoy the journey. And that's my lesson.
Oh my gosh. And I'm learning that lesson myself. I don't slow down. I don't sit down very well. I am kind of in a dead run most of the time. But then I miss things, right? And I'm
Yeah.
starting to realize I don't want to miss these things. These are important things that I need to pay attention to, that I need to be present for. And so I appreciate your definition and your reminder that we've got to enjoy the journey. So what part of the journey are you enjoying most right now?
So I left the big city to move to a much smaller town, Noosa, on the Sunshine Coast, and it is absolutely paradise. I've been coming here for 25 years because my parents had a house here or lived here, and leaving Sydney every holiday time to come to paradise. And I always loved it, right? But after a long weekend, I'd be like, let's rush back to the big city and get all manic again. And now I am enjoying the lifestyle, the slowing down, the nature, the fact that when you rock up to a cafe, yes, people know you like they do in Sydney. However, they also don't have your coffee ready in 60 seconds for you to rush to the gym and open it. Like the rush is not on, and
Hmm.
you can't force it. And you have to slow down to the pace that everyone else has adopted up here. And that is really good. It's been really, really beneficial because I relate to where you're at as well, right? And maybe we've got this innate like fast and drive and I found I kind of had to change locations for it to force me to slow down. I wasn't slowing down in Sydney, and here I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so I live a mile and a half from the beach in Florida, very different beach, right? But still the beach. And yet, I get there a couple times a year. We go out on our boat as often as possible. I know, but it's ridiculous, right? And there are students here who have never seen the water, and it's a 13-mile across peninsula, right? I think we miss our opportunities because we're stuck in our space. And the reality is it's really easy to get out of the space if we just allow it. So you've slowed down, you've taken a breath. It doesn't mean that your business has slowed down though, right? You're still just as thriving as you were before. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for people? If I were to come to you and say, "Hey, Kate, I need some guidance here in the health and wellness field," what sorts of things would you do?
There's two components. There's the face-to-face side, which is personal training. And, I love that. I've been doing that for 18 years and I had to start from scratch when I changed cities. I'd been at
Sure.
capacity for well over a decade in Sydney and I totally had to start from scratch here. And so in the gym, I simply help people with the most effective exercising and eating actions, time effective, safe, balanced programming. And that is all about the relationships for me. I had many of my clients in Sydney had been with me the full 18 years that I'd been a personal trainer. And when I left, I thought I would never build those types of relationships
Mhm.
again. And I've maintained those relationships with the Sydney folk that I no longer get to train. And also, I'm building those relationships with the Noosa folk. So that's kind of cool. Not very vegan, though, sadly. It's a small town. I'm that weird vegan personal trainer again. And so the online side of my business is very much more aligned with that huge vision. And that's where I help plant curious professionals. I'm here for the vegans, but I'm really here for those people who aren't completely over the line yet. They're curious, but maybe it's a bit overwhelming and fearful. And so I help plant curious professionals prioritize their health and happiness. Again, I used to be all about the health, rocking around in that fit, strong, healthy body, because that's a really good way to advocate for the animals. And now I'm like, happiness too, like help them with their happiness as I'm helping myself with my happiness.
Oh, I love that. Well, and again, so for our listeners, right, the purpose of this podcast is to create productive joy, to give you a little shot of B12, to help you understand that you can have both at the same time, right? Work and fun don't need to be separate. They can actually come together and happen at the same time. And it sounds to me like you are helping people find that, right? Whether it's through what they're eating or how they're handling themselves, it isn't just about health. It's also about the peace, the joy, the happiness that we're all seeking and not necessarily all finding, right? I think that we tend to grind pretty hard. So if somebody wanted to find you, whether they are over here in the States or over in beautiful Australia, how would they go about doing that?
Website's the best way. Strongbodygreenplanet.com. That connects you to everything across the socials, to the Healthification podcast, and to the Plant Positive Journal, which is basically a daily planner full of recipes and strategies for living a healthy, happy lifestyle. And one step at a time, if you're open to it, and I hope you are, making that lifestyle a little bit more plant powered.
Nice. Okay. Well, and what I appreciate is it sounds practical, right? Because if somebody wants to make a big shift, they need it to be practical. They need it to be something that they can do on the fly, that they can make happen. Because the people that are listening to this podcast are leaders who are willing to do it differently, who want different results, who are looking for that productive joy. And it sounds like they might be able to find it quickly and easily through all of the great things that you're doing, and that's kind of exciting. Because I think the number one neglected part of success is our health. I think that I know that I see a lot of leaders who are grinding so hard at work that they have forgotten that this part matters and that they need to be taking care of their bodies. Do you see that too? Do you see a lot of people just kind of neglect the most important part?
Absolutely. Without your health, you have nothing. right?
Mhm,
I
mhm.
also believe without the health of the planet and all those we share it with, we have nothing. However, to your point, like absolutely, I see those professionals and I am so fascinated by them. The professionals that can take the mindset they apply to their business and their success there, and they can just make that quick switch and apply those same standards and success strategies to their health. I love that. There are those individuals and I love spending time with them. And then also, I'm endlessly fascinated by those supremely successful individuals in business who have not yet made that applicable to their health, right? And there is only so long that they're going to get away with it.
Right.
Your body's not a machine. I learned that the hard way. You can push your body like a machine, and one day it will stop, and it will stop altogether, or you'll just become like increasingly less. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think that's what I see out of the leaders. I agree with you. I have both kinds, right, in my world. And I think about a good friend of mine who is a CEO, and she puts her health first. Period. Thank you very much. She is going to be in the gym at 5:30 in the morning. She is not going to miss that opportunity, regardless of how busy she gets, because she knows she's a better human when she is healthy on the inside. And you're helping people do that, which to me is the definition of productive joy. You're figuring out ways for people to go, okay, I need to take care of me before I can take care of anybody else. And if I'm going to run a business, if I'm going to be a boss babe of one form or another, then I've got to take care of the internal stuff too. What's the number one thing that you see mistake that you see people make when they are trying to get on this health journey? Kind of like you at the beginning when the gym didn't stick. What's the mistake people make and how would you get them over the hump?
It is 100% like me at the beginning. People want all the exercising action and the nutritional advice, and that's amazing. I've got that. They want to be getting in there with all the actions and they want those fast results, and fantastic. We'll go there. We first need to also lay the foundation for your future ongoing success. And, that is creating an alignment. So it's getting really clear on your compelling why, what you're looking to achieve, how it's going to impact your ideal life. So you need to get really clear on that and build huge emotional intensity into that. And then also, I want people to align that compelling why with their most important values. So those emotional states that you are naturally drawn to, think of the things you always make time and energy for, you spend your money on. No right or wrong. For me, it's freedom and integrity. For many people, it might be family, love, connection. You need to create an alignment between that goal, the actions you need to take to achieve that goal, and those most compelling values. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting yourself. And
Mm.
any lifestyle change you make, for it to be sustainable, it's got to be enjoyable. There's got to be that joy. There's got to be consistency. You want to be working with yourself, not fighting yourself.
Well, and I think that was just sound leadership advice that you just gave, right? And I think what I have seen is that we use it in the business space often, right? We hear people say all the time, lead with why. I mean, there have been many books written about it, and you must lead with your why. But I'm not sure that everyone translates that into their personal physical well-being, and it becomes I have to check the box, or I don't really want to take care of myself, or I'll be okay. But there's nothing more important. There's nothing more important than taking care of this so that you can take care of that. And for those of you that aren't watching, I'm pointing to myself and then out into the world. I think we are so externally motivated sometimes that we forget that it's the internal piece that we have to start with. So thank you for that reminder that we've got to set a very clear why and get people to hit that target. So you help people do that. You help people do that face to face. You help people do that virtually. You help people do that with your things that you have authored as well, right? So you've got some of those
Indeed.
out there. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So that's the Plant Positive Journal, version 1 and version 2. I created this book a number of years ago, probably about 7 years ago. My dear mum bought me a gratitude diary for Christmas, and it was the most stunning, beautiful piece of art book. And so basically, it let you plan your day to come the night before and focus on your gratitudes. And every single month, that had all these like words and about the sun and the moon. And I never read any of that. I just thought it was a beautiful book to plan my day to come. I love just ticking boxes and, all of that. A few years in, I was like, this is missing something. How about if all those words were instead aligned with living a healthy, happy, plant-based lifestyle? And if there was recipes and self-care and motivation and everything that I use to be effective and impactful and joyful in my day, how about if I included that? And so that was the Plant Positive Journal version 1, and version 2 just came out this year. I produce them every couple of years. And they're dedicated to my dear mum, who sadly isn't here anymore. She never got to see even version 1. However, the journal and my way of being in the world, I used to be the angry vegan, right?
Mm.
I used to lead with truth bombs, and it just wasn't effective or fun or sustainable. And now the goal is to lead with love and compassion and deliciousness, which is what my mum was an expert at doing. And that's what I do with the journal.
Oh, I love that. What a beautiful tribute to your mother. I'm sure
Mhm.
she is smiling on you right now and is truly pleased that you figured out that we catch a lot more bees with honey, right? And we've got to come at things from a place of curiosity and understanding instead of this is the right way and you can't, because people are by nature just going to have their own opinions, right? We all do. Now, we can sway their opinions. I talk about it this way. Our sphere of control, for those of you that aren't looking, is this teeny tiny little hole right here, right? Like if you put your fingers together and you make a teeny tiny hole, that's your sphere of control. But your sphere of influence is as wide as your arms can go. And I think that's what you're doing, is you're influencing people with your positivity, with your journals, with your way of being that would make people be more curious and say, oh my gosh, that sounds fascinating. I want to know more. I love that, Kate. I think you're doing a magnificent job. Well done.
Thank you. You've got to welcome people in, right? Whether it's your vision for your business or your vision for the world, whatever it is, you can't make it look stressful and angsty and hateful and frustrating. No one's going to come running towards that, right? You're going to push everyone away. So my hard learned lesson is just to welcome people on board at the pace and at the time that works for them, not for me.
Ah, yeah, not easy. Easier said than done
Not
for
easy.
sure, but
100%.
definitely worth it. Well, Kate, I could talk to you forever, but people won't listen forever. So I am going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, this is the fun part for me, which, speaking of, first question, what's your definition of fun?
I love this question because it forced me to think. And I think it's the impromptu moments that just turn up, and they're centered around connection and often nature and often movement. That's fun.
Mm. Well, and living at the beach, you've got all of those things, right?
I do. I
So
do.
tell me before we go, and I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but I do have a question. So tell me what I would see if I were standing on an Australian beach, because I have stood on a Floridian beach, I've stood on a Californian beach, I've stood on an East Coast beach, but I've not ever stood on an Australian beach. What would I see besides the sun and the water?
They're also different, but what I love most about Noosa, after coming from the beach, Bondi in Sydney, right? In Sydney, you would see all these perfect bodies strutting down the beach. That is what you would see, and it would feel like you were in some sort of a model shoot. I was there for 25 years. In Noosa, what you would see is beautiful blue water and white sand and gum trees. I just love gum trees. Are my favorite trees. They're
Okay.
Aussie native. They are stunning, but the sides of the national park in Noosa are just filled with these glorious gum trees, blue sky, white sand, green gum trees. It's stunning.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Okay, very cool. Well, one day I would very much like to get there and I will look you up for sure. Okay, next question. How do
Perfect.
you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
I have a calm sense of clarity that I am living a life aligned with my values, and the reverse of that, that I'm trying to be very aware of, is like a sickness in my stomach, which I tend to get. It's not usually action based, it's usually conversation based. When I've let that little angry vegan heart come out, or I've been a bit impatient, or whatever it is, a conversation might have gone a bit off the rails. And I just think to myself, I could have handled that better. I will handle that better next time.
That's beautiful. I like that. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
So in the gym, it's really easy. When I first became a personal trainer nearly 20 years ago, I decided 2 words. I wanted to be the most positive and most positive and most focused trainer in the gym. And so irrespective of how I'm feeling, that is the energy that I bring into the gym, even on my worst days, because I might be seeing many clients. It's their only session of the day, perhaps even of the week. Personally, it's harder because, you're not having to face up to people, right? You're just behind the computer doing everything else. And so I cling, sometimes desperately. However, it has worked for me, to my most important keystone habits. So the things that have always dragged me through, even in the very worst times, even when my dear mum died suddenly and I'd lost the plot in every single way, I still made time for the food that served my body and the exercise that served my body, because you and your body are a team, and
Yeah.
that's at the forefront of whatever I'm thinking. And sometimes to treat your body like a team, I ask myself what's going to make me proud at the end of today. And often that is a long list of doing the most important actions. However, sometimes in your very worst times, you're going to feel okay for just giving up on the day and putting yourself to bed and waking up fresh tomorrow. And that is okay, guilt-free.
Oh, I think there is so much power in those words. And I like what will make me proud at the end of the day. I'm going to
Yeah.
onto that for sure. All right, tough question. And we talked about it at the beginning. I don't know where you're going to land, but if people can only remember one thing that you said today, one part of this podcast conversation, what do you really want people to latch on to?
It's easy. I want people to have the courage to live a life aligned with their values. And also, while doing that, have the commitment to constantly get better, to evolve at the way you're doing that. For me, it's not the black or white passion, it's also having the compassion and the love as I lead that life aligned with my values.
Mm, passion and compassion. And I really appreciate the word courage there too. I think that that's something that's overlooked often. Well, Kate, I know it's 6 o'clock in the morning where you are, and you got up early and you look beautiful, and you came here to talk to us so that we could learn a little bit more about you and all the things that you're doing. So thank you on behalf of Productive Joy and all of our listeners for choosing to share your brilliance with us today.
It was perfect timing. I love your energy, and thank you for the brilliant questions, Christy. My huge pleasure.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun. And for all of our listeners, you all know that the challenge is always to take this and use it. So, what nugget of wisdom are you going to hold on to? Is it going to be that you need to have more passion and compassion? Is it that you're going to focus differently on what aligns with who you are? Are you going to take care of your body? I don't know what nugget of wisdom you're leaving with, but I know two things. One, if you're not already following this podcast, then you won't get nuggets of wisdom like this. So, please do. And two, if you're not sharing it with other people, they're not going to get it either. So do both of those things for me, please. And figure out a way today to turn fun into action.